Welcome to The Business Strategist, the show for CEOs and founders ready to scale fast, lead smarter, and build a business that doesn't rely on them. I'm Adam Strong, award-winning strategist, former elite athlete, international speaker, and 3 times best-selling author. After 3 decades in business, I know exactly what it takes to grow, scale, and exit with impact. Each week, I dive into real conversations with industry experts, bold entrepreneurs, and clients navigating the uphill struggles of business, giving you the tools, the strategies to create more profit, more freedom, and more impact. Let's get into it. What's the real competitive advantage now? Smarter AI or more deeply human leadership? Now, if you're a founder or a leader trying to scale, you're being told to plug into AI into everything, into your ops, into your sales, even into your decision making. The message is very, very loud and clear. More faster, cut costs, do more with less, right? But there's a bit where nobody is really talking about. So while you're optimizing all this lovely AI, what's happening to your people? What's happening to trust? What's happening to culture? Now, today we're talking about the human edge in an AI world, why your humanistic leadership might be what keeps you ahead. All right. Even as AI transforms the way that we work in a day-to-day basis. My guest today is the amazing Chris March. Now, Chris is an executive coach. He's a former COO and he's a leadership strategist. And we're going to be basically unpacking on a number of core topics, but the main topic that we're going to be talking about is how to use AI without losing your team's trust or your engagement, and even with your audience. We're also going to be talking a little bit about some of the biggest leadership mistakes that you make in the AI world. And there's going to be some very thought-provoking conversations that we're going to be having off today. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam. Excited to be here.
Really thought-provoking topic for today,
Yes.
isn't it? And, really, truly appreciate you being on today's show. And I want to, again, I want to jump in here because for you guys that are listening in again, if you're leaning into AI, but feel like there's this fine balance between losing the soul of your business or your brand, then this episode is definitely for you. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like, I don't know about you, Chris, but I feel like we see it on places like LinkedIn where you and me play a lot. We have, we create a lot of content, and everyone is whining about AI commenting, AI posts, AI this, AI that, right? When leaders hear AI is, to transform business, I mean, what's the first thing that you think about? What is it that they're getting wrong about the human side of stuff, even though they're being told, hey, get implementing AI as soon as you can, ride the wave, otherwise you're going to get left behind. What's your thoughts?
I think there's still a lot of fear. It's the fear of unknown. Naturally, as humans, we're not wired for change. We don't feel comfortable with that. So I think it's very similar to the .com bubble. For hopefully your audience is old enough to remember those times. You remember when the internet first came around? We were very
I was very
sure.
Young. I was very young, so I don't know about you, but I'm not that old.
No, it's very similar. I think the approach is similar, where people were unsure about it. The internet, the Y2K, there was this really the .com bubble, and people were unsure about it. And we fast forward to today, or 25 years later, and the internet connects the world in a much, much better place, right? We couldn't be having this conversation. People couldn't be listening to this conversation. It's transformed life. And I think as we continually progress and work through AI, I think it'll be very similar once we move forward and we have further time between when it's implemented and the implementation, that everyone can see and the benefits that it has.
Yeah, I can definitely understand your kind of argument around that. I mean, there's definitely an element of people that are embracing AI, and there is an element of people that are not embracing AI, as like we call riding the wave. What do you think when it comes to because a lot of our listeners are founders and they're CEOs and they're business owners in their own right. What do you think that they're doing wrong when it comes to, implementing certain AI and what do you think they're getting wrong in terms of the human side? Because we talked a little bit about, trust. We talk about connection, human connection, which
Mm-hmm.
kind of went through that during 2020. We always talked about authenticity and
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
because of the world being in a funny place. But how does that where do you think people are going wrong?
I think they don't know where to start in a lot of different ways. I think everyone understands ChatGPT and they're doing basic prompting, helping rewrite a few emails here and there. There's some lift overall that's being done, but then unsure of where to start. And when you don't have clarity, that creates confusion. So you're just doing the little bits where you feel you're getting uplift. So it's about understanding where you can get that lift within the organization to run more efficiency. I think AI is really a multiplier. Think about if for any business owners, think around the repetitive, the mundane tasks that people are doing. Where can you implement AI to help people take that off their plate to do more of the things that they do really, really well?
And one thing that actually springs to my mind is the fact that because, AI is not going away anytime soon. We know that. And anyway, it's been around for many, many years. One of the things that springs to my mind is the feeling of two things. Number one, feeling of being overwhelmed because we've kind of been thrown this left, right, and center, right? But number two, I feel like and I don't know if it's just me, but there's like an underlying pressure that if I don't do something, number one, I'm going to miss out. But number two, someone else is going to beat me to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's natural FOMO, right? We feel like we're missing out on something, so naturally we want to do it.
Exactly. With the rise of a lot of SaaS companies now that using software and the entry to market when it comes to like not even needing a coder these days and just having an AI agent or whatever, right? And if I don't do everything, like what's the damage could I do to my business if I don't implement certain things?
Yeah, I think it's just the time that we're in as well. We're so rich with information. We're presented with so much every single day, and we have to make so many decisions. And we can be caught in a spiral. And I'm sure a lot of business owners feel the same decision fatigue that you have, all the decisions you need to make every single day while you keep hearing about AI. What am I meant to do? Where am I meant to start? Where does it have the biggest impact? So that's where, to your point, I feel there's a lot of overwhelm and people just not sure and just sitting back and taking their time with it.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, today's topic is all about the human edge in AI. What does that actually mean from your perspective, like in practical terms for people that are listening in or they're looking to scale and exit and things like that? What does human edge in AI really mean?
So I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's an opportunity where we have right now of the rise of machines, or any different way you want to word it or package it. It is getting back to the fundamentals which make people thrive. And I think it's those soft skills that are talked about. I think they're not just soft skills. I think we need to rebrand soft skills. They're essential skills which are going to compound over time. And we can see the market is reshifting around human value and what we can do in the marketplace. So think about your time management, your energy management, your leadership, your influence, how you communicate, all these different things. When you think about soft skills, these are the things that give you an edge and remind people that you are human. And these are the things software, AI can't take away from you.
Yeah, I think you're right. We talked a little bit about, how you communicate and how you message. And there's this kind of what I call authenticity, if you want to call it, about you as a personality, the character, the demeanor. I think kind of like the human makeover.
Yeah, these are the things that can't be taken away from. And you think about AI right now, AI is not end to end. It still needs prompting, right? It still needs some human in the loop aspect as well. True. You need that oversight from a human perspective to guide the tool.
Do you feel like, from your perspective, with working with businesses that are implementing this sort of stuff, and obviously you're consulting and giving people frameworks around this, But do you feel like they're using AI? Are they really embracing it, or are they just using it as an excuse to then just lay people off? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a lot of that's coming from the media, right? However, I think it was October, there was 170 layoffs in that month in the US, which is the most in 20 years. And the headline was AI is taking all of these jobs. And I shared an article and a post around this on LinkedIn. The market isn't shrinking, it's just resorting around human value.
You mean 170,000, right?
Yeah, 170,000. 170,000 job losses were reported in October, which was the highest in 20 years. And naturally, with the conversation, with everything that's going on with AI, that was reported that this is all due to AI. But I see it really as a shift. It's resorting around human value. And to your point, and what we're discussing today is those human elements are going to be your edge moving forward. Those decisions that you can make without software is going to be your edge. Those relationships you have, the equity that you have, people automatically think of you, the influence that you have, the way you can communicate and influence, those things are irreplaceable. AI can't take that away from you.
Would you say that AI increases that USP, or would you say the humanistic side of stuff increases our USP, or do you think there's a balance between the two?
It's a great question. And I think it depends on your positioning and what, if you're offering a product or service, right? I think if naturally, let's say for a content creator, their unique selling proposition is going to be unique to that person. I think your edge will be what you can offer, right? And then if you're in the AI industry or something that's blending a lot more AI, that's going to multiply you and give you an advantage versus a competitor who may not be implementing AI as effectively or as quickly as yourself. So I see it as depending on the situation and the product or service that you have in the marketplace, there's benefits to both. So that would be my answer. It really depends on the situation.
I guess the multi-million-dollar question, or the playing devil's advocate, would be is what does that balance really look like, right? So again, I suppose it's dependent on each business and each founder, I guess, in a nutshell, right?
Yeah, I think the key part of it is AI is there to help multiply you. It's an amplifier to allow you to be more productive. And you look at it, even if you're a solopreneur or you're someone who has hundreds of people on your team, identify where there's an opportunity to remove those manual tasks, those repetitive tasks where AI can do that lifting for you. Of course, with the human in the loop to ensure the work is 100% accurate. So your people can be more productive depending on your industry, closing sales, bringing in revenue, focusing on higher revenue tasks. And for the solopreneur, those things that you don't like doing, you typically put off or you procrastinate, pass them off to AI so you can do the work that you're meant to be doing, right? So there's benefits to both sides.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Because you work in the world of executive coaching, so you'll be working with a lot of companies. I mean, you've worked with companies in North America, you're in Australia now. How is, from your perspective, you've probably seen observation-wise, you've seen how AI is potentially eroding trust day to day, whether it be in teams, whether it be in leadership, with prospects or the audience or whatever it is, and how people and also about how people feel about what the future holds. What's kind of been some of the feedback? What are you seeing on a day-to-day basis in working with those companies, and how do you kind of like get around that?
I think with the AI piece, a lot of people are questioning the validity of certain things, right? Because AI can generate videos. I see it on social media. There was a video around someone having a conversation with someone and people were asking, is this AI or not? Right? Those are the type of conversations. So we're already, the lack of trust in society is playing out culturally as well. And we really have to take a bigger lens. I think there needs to be governance here around those type of questions to ensure that the work that we're putting out from a company perspective, and also the content that we're putting out is true and validated. So I think that's just culturally we're seeing that people don't believe everything that they're seeing right now, and that then naturally comes out in the work that we're doing. And I think from a business perspective, what it comes back to is the human edge. Is that the one thing you can't take away, Adam, is if you're my direct leader, let's say, let's go and have a conversation. Let's not sit behind a screen. Let's sit down and have a conversation around what's happening in your business and how I can better support you to help move the business forward. So I think it's just around getting back to the fundamentals. And that's what I try to remind people of if they're second guessing themselves around leadership and how they implement AI. First, let's look at the fundamentals. Are we doing the fundamentals correctly? And that starts with a human and helping other humans get better at the micro level.
Yeah, I love that. It's a really good point, actually. And you're absolutely right. I think people forget about the core fundamentals and growing a business, scaling a business, exit the business, whatever it might be. But I think you make a really valid point there. I wrote down here, actually, I want to kind of shift my conversation because, I mean, listen, we both create regular content on places like LinkedIn, which we absolutely love, of course. When it comes to if humans can't tell between what's human and what is AI generated, how does that affect a thought leader's credibility or a thought leader's relationship building with regards to their audience? If you've got any tactics or any skills that you potentially use with yourself, what does that look like?
Similar to yourself, Adam, we both share content, and we're seeing the barrier to entry to put our content now is so quick thanks to AI. So there's a lot more content being on the platform, copy and paste style content. And I think naturally it's really important for you to stand out by doing content which resonates with you. I think the content that does really well is the ones that people can't Google, right? If you're giving how to do certain things, just generic advice, let's say in leadership, 7 ways to approach a meeting, people are resonating more with personal stories, struggles, coming back to your authentic. One of my best performing posts was a post that I shared earlier this year when I moved back to Australia and the challenges that I had around moving back after being overseas for such a long period of time, the reverse cultural shock. And that was just me just sharing my thoughts. That's something that AI cannot come up with. So I think there's a great opportunity for anyone who's sharing content, listening. Think about the struggles that you have, wins that you've had every single week, right? 2 or 3 different things that you've had or conversations with your team, and share a post about it. Share a post. You can remove the names and just say, I had this conversation or these things happen. This is what I'm seeing. Write about the personal experiences. That's the type of content that is going to stand out in the marketplace moving forward because there's just too much of everything else, which is copy and paste.
Are you planning to sell your business in the next 3 to 5 years? Then you already know it's not just about finding a buyer. It's about actually protecting what you've actually built. That's where our sponsor, Adam Benedict, comes in. They're one of the leading premier M&A legal firms trusted by founders to simplify complex exits, protect value, and deliver results. Now, if you want a smart, smoother, and strategic exit, visit adambenedict.co.uk.
America leads the world in medicine development. It matters. We get new medicines first, nearly 3 years faster. 5 million Americans go to work because we make medicines here at home. And not relying on other countries keeps us safe. But China is racing to overtake us. Will we let them, or will we choose to stay ahead? When America leads, America cures. Let's tell Washington to keep us in the lead.
Learn how at americacures.com. Paid for by pharma.
Yeah. Oh my God, I so agree on that. I don't know. It's kind of like, especially with people that do create content out there, is that everyone seems to be following the same, I don't know, the same templates, if you want to call it that, or the same structure, or you know what I'm saying? Like they seem to be doing the same thing. And like, I'm thinking to myself, no, I want to kind of create my own thing, But again, it's kind of like where this kind of gratification comes from, where I want to do this because everyone else is doing it and it's working and it's leading to this. So if they're doing it, then maybe I should do it. So there's this kind of what I call copy and paste model, which is happening, right? It's like a debate going on in my mind where I feel like, should I do what these guys are doing, or should I do what I want to do, which is what you had highlighted? How do you get around that? I mean, you gave a great example of one of your personal stories. How do you kind of, answer that question in your subconscious mind?
Yeah, so I've got a good example. So I committed 2 years ago to sharing my ideas on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Roughly about 2 years ago today, I wanted to focus on my personal brand. And for the first year, all I was focused on, and this was my own fault looking back in hindsight, I was just chasing going viral. Going viral. All I wanted to do was go viral. Focusing on content. If anyone who's been on LinkedIn, you'll remember infographics were really big in 2024. I was putting out a lot of infographics, the billboards. I was copying and pasting exactly like everyone else, looking at validated content and then reshaping that in my own thoughts and just doing exactly what everyone else was doing. And I went viral a couple of times. It was great. I was really, really focused on followers myself, just that everything was around how many reposts can I get? How many new followers can I get? And I wasn't really doing a service for myself at all. And it wasn't helping me generate business for me at all, because all my content was about going viral. And about 6 months ago, I then shifted and I said, look, this is great that I'm going viral and I've got all these followers, but I've got 0 clients that have come in from that. Very minimal clients. Yes, I got a few speaking opportunities, some paid posts, but overall, it's just the content isn't resonating. And now it's funny, since I've shifted in the last 6 months where I'm just focusing on delivering good content, sharing thoughts from my own experiences, what I'm seeing in the world. I don't focus on getting reposts. I don't ask for them. I've completely changed the way I post. I don't even ask for people to comment. And the moment you stop focusing on those things and just try and focus on delivering content, things have shifted and it's performing a lot better. And it's just a much more comfortable conversation. And I feel much more confident on the way that I approach content now on LinkedIn.
Interesting. I love that. Thanks very much for sharing that experience. That's great. Yeah. So I see so many people chasing the metrics and they're so obsessed about going viral, like you had kind of rightly pointed out. So what you're basically saying to me is, Adam, I don't chase metrics anymore. I just focus on what's like aligned to me. What you're seeing, like off the back of that, what are you seeing what's the results off the back of that?
I'm not focused on metrics. I'm not looking at how many reposts, how many likes that I've got. I'm detaching myself from the situation and I'm just sharing content which I feel resonates and aligns with my ideal customer profile to engage and get them thinking of some of the pain points that they're going through and different things that they're going through to help drive a conversation ultimately, and also just sharing different things that I'm seeing in the world. I'm passionate about leadership. I'm passionate about the future of work. So I want to be part of those conversations and share my insights from what I'm seeing. So it's enjoyable and I just try to have fun with it, which is the main thing.
I don't know about you, but one of the things that, and listen, I'll be guilty as charged on this one as well, especially at the very beginning when you're trying to kind of learn about how, not just how AI works, but one of the things that I feel really it needs to be education more than anything else is this kind of like ideology that AI is to replace our thinking. Now, AI is obviously, it's trying to learn more about us as human beings as society goes along. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But I feel like, especially founders and business owners that are always looking for a shortcut to success. And so using AI to replace their train of thought is like kind of that downfall. And, I see it every day. I'm sure you see it every day, is that when a post is written by AI, just by looking at the structure, or, you know, when there's too much capitalization, or there's too many hyphens, or there is this hit me hard. Like, you know, there's sentences which is like, hey, that's bullshit. You wouldn't say that, right? That's stupid. Do you know what I mean? You've seen that a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, the M dashes is the biggest giveaway, right? The ChatGPT writes M dashes in everything. So that's when did everyone start using M dashes, right? All of a sudden we're poetry writers. So it's a big focus on that. And I think the most important thing, to your point, is one of the best writing tips I learned from LinkedIn: before you post anything, say it out loud. Say it out loud. And if it doesn't sound right when you say it out loud, don't post it. I learned that about a year ago. And now if it doesn't sound like me and I say something like, this hit me hard, I don't say that. Why am I going to post that? So for anyone that's thinking about content or producing content, say it out loud. It'll really help you to align with your voice.
Have you found, I don't know about you, but have you found, in terms of like on a daily basis, what have you found has really kind of not just shifted your mindset, but also are there any kind of daily rituals that you've used to improve upon the content that you're connecting with your audience? Is there anything that you've done or anything that's changed for you?
It's just like anything, you've got to put the reps in. I think over 2 years now of just constantly writing, and if anyone's listening, go check out my profile from 2 years ago and see my content 2 years ago versus today. It's much, much better. And that was part of my goal of writing on LinkedIn, was to become a better writer. I thought I was a good writer, but I'm definitely a more refined writer. And I think that just comes through getting through the reps, right? And writing comes through clarity. And that's where sometimes if you're really, your thoughts are jumbled, try writing it out. And sometimes when you do content, I'll write my thoughts one day and then I'll come back to it and then finish it off. Sometimes I'll get AI to look at it, optimize it. Of course, there's an element that can speed that up. But all the ideas that come from me are what I want to execute on.
Yeah. It actually reminded me of a great post that I'm going to write, actually, which I'll share, by the way, for you ladies and gents, if you're interested in going to have by Monday. It'll be on there by Monday. It might even be on there tomorrow. I don't know, but definitely be on Monday. So anyway, depending on when you're listening to this, of course. What was I going to say to you? Yeah. So that's a really, really good train of thought. Now, if a founder wants to use AI without, should we say, weakening trust with their team and their audience and whatever it is, give me 3 non-negotiables that you'd put in place so that AI doesn't destroy the trust in the team, so that AI doesn't destroy trust with your audience, so AI doesn't destroy trust with your consumers. Is there any, what are 3 non-negotiables that you'd put in place?
Firstly, you'd want to create the education, the awareness around why you're going to be using AI. And I think the second, you want to have the educational and awareness firstly to make sure for your own internal team perspective that everyone understands the why behind it, why we're going to be using AI, and ensure that you enable all questions, get everyone on board so everyone can be part of that journey. Secondly, I think it's important for you to be transparent around the use of AI as well. That's really, really important. If you're going to be using AI, if you want to get that trust point, let people know.
Very cool.
That's important. So the trust part and also the governance part as well, and making sure the big piece, and I'm sure you see this as well, Adam, is how we're using AI responsibly.
Yeah, I agree on that 100%. Very
so
good.
There's 3 parts: the education, the transparency, and also the governance side of things.
Yeah. With regards to brand building, and because I mean, building brand is kind of like a little bit like building a masterpiece Lego set, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like brick by brick, and I'm sure you remember that when you were a kid.
Yes.
What, from your perspective, I mean, you're constantly building your brand, whether it be on platforms like LinkedIn, for example, and whatever it is. Is there any advice that you have for our listeners in particular around using, in terms of what you're doing in terms of building your brand, whether it be with AI or without AI? Are there any tips around that?
AI is good if you're ever, the beautiful thing about AI is if you're ever stuck on ideas, it's really good for ideation.
Yeah.
So we live in an opportunity time where you have access to all trending topics, what's being spoken about. So depending on your different niche, have a look what's being talked about and give your spin on that. A simple thing that I do, not sure if any other listeners do this, I set up Google alerts for keywords that I speak about. So leadership, executive coaching, performance coaching. And I look at those different topics at the end of each week and I see if there's anything there that I want to talk about. And I could use those articles to give my spin on that as well. So use those tools that are available to you to create ideas. A lot of people always say, I don't know what I want to talk about. Okay, so let's break that down. What do you feel most passionate about? Whatever that is, pick that topic and then search subtopics based on that topic that you love talking about, and then go find what's being spoken about and add your spin to that. So simple, but so effective.
Yeah, I like that's a good tip, that one. What I found particularly good is using places like Reddit.
Yes,
good.
Reddit's great.
I mean, a lot of the LLMs use places like Reddit for research and sourcing and stuff like that. Reddit is so underestimated. To me, it's just like one big blog post in a way.
Yeah. It's
or forum. That's what I meant.
Good conversations happening there.
Do you use any sort of simple checklists or frameworks for leaders that you advise some of your clients on?
So it depends on what function they're looking for support in. The most simple one that comes up a lot, and I'm hearing with different people that I work with, is email. Email is a natural one. Either you've got a VA who supports you with that, or there's a lot of great AI tools out there. Fixer AI is one of the most prevalent ones right now. Yeah, Adam's shaking his head. He knows that there's great tools out there to help identify where you can get the biggest lift. So I think it's really important. And a lot of the conversations that I focus on is, where are you spending a lot of your time? Where's the low value work that you're doing in technician mode? What you need to be focusing on is the high value work. The strategic work is going to help move the business forward. So let's do an audit of where you're spending your time firstly. And I'm sure in most cases, as I'm familiar with, you're spending too much time doing the technical tasks, which isn't the best use of your time. And if you look at your job description, I'm sure that's not listed in the job description. So you could take that on yourself and then work on that with your management team and then filter that down through the organization as well.
Beautiful. Is there any resources that you'd recommend for some of our listeners and they're like thinking, that's probably a good idea. Where should I start with all this?
Yeah, so the time audit is something that I would recommend if you're always stressed or feel overwhelmed or not sure where you're spending a lot of your time. You're probably leaking time. So have a look at conducting a time audit. That's a really, really good tool. There's a lot of good ones. I can share one with you afterwards, Adam. I don't have them top of mind, but if you Google time audit, there's a bunch of different tools that will come up which are available to you. And I'd recommend a couple of weeks of data, and you will be surprised if you sit down and actually track the time that you're spending from a day to day. I can almost guarantee you, if everyone does that over a 2 to 3 week span, there's at least 10 hours a week that you can get back.
Interesting. Love that. There's a good tip there. Now, I want to kind of move into the next part of our conversation. What we'd love to do on this show, Chris, is kind of an element of coaching. Maybe I could share some concerns around this kind of humanistic side of stuff.
Yeah.
In terms of like, where do you want to start from a coaching perspective? If you're sitting down with a client or a customer, they have concerns about this whole kind of humanistic side of stuff into AI and how to implement it, where should we start with that?
Adam, tell me, when you think about AI, what's the first thing that comes to mind and why?
Ooh, well, really, in a nutshell, the first thing that came to my mind when I first came across AI was Skynet from Terminator. In all honesty, it really was. I mean, obviously, that's obviously evolved now, but that was the first thing that came to my mind. AI learns from everything. But yeah, I actually watched Terminator the other day. But anyway, so yeah, but that's what comes to my mind.
And why does it come to mind?
Because that's kind of like how I perceptually see AI. It's kind of like it's constantly learning about us. which from the scary perspective is like it wants to become us. And then, well, then who are we as human beings? Gets me to answer a question around that. What's our purpose of human beings if we've got AI type of thing? That's kind of, again, I suppose a fear I have.
And to build on the fear element, what's the biggest fear that you have if you were to sum it up in a sentence when it comes to AI?
I don't want to become redundant.
Mm.
And I'm sure this is the same for some of our listeners. Like if we're doing particular roles or we're doing particular activities or actions or whatever, that fear of like being redundant, well, then what's the point type of thing? That's kind of like my biggest fear, I think.
Conversely, if everything went well with AI from your perspective, how do you envision it?
It's a good question. I mean, the things that we spoke about today, around the whole kind of like increase in productivity, using the mundane stuff. I think I don't want AI to replace me. I don't think it ever will replace me. I don't want it to replace me. I just want it to improve my train of thought and complement what we do. But again, I don't feel like it can replace personal stories, experiences, conversations. Hey, and guess what? AI doesn't have feelings either. You know? So I feel like the element of psychology, which fascinates me, I don't think it can replace any of those things. But I do think that it could make subtle improvements to what we do on a day-to-day basis.
And when you think about your life, you said it can improve from a day-to-day basis, improve life. So when you think about your life, Adam, where do you think you can improve your life immediately today? If you were to walk away?
I mean, the way that we use AI at the moment, so full disclosure for you guys that are listening in, by the way, I think for me is I like to use AI to leverage to make things easier. So let me give you an example. If I'm creating a post, and you might do this as well, if I'm creating a post, I want AI to be able to challenge my train of thought. I want it to be able to not correct me, but I want it to ask questions and say, well, why is that the case? How do you know it to be true? Why is it true? So, and again, I feel like using AI in that way will help me to become a better writer. It will help me to become a better connector. It will help me to challenge the status quo, if that makes sense. Yep. So for me, I'm using AI right now as a way to improve upon our culture, to improve upon our business, and to really kind of complement and not see it as a disadvantage.
Yeah. Does it make sense to you?
I think so. But yeah. So I hope that answers your question, by the way.
Yes. And it's interesting. I read an article the other day around AI. If you actually speak to it directly versus nicely, don't be pleasant with AI. Be very direct, almost abusive in a lot of ways. Just don't say please, thank you. It'll give you better outputs as well.
Yeah. Well, actually, that is correct, because we were speaking with Charlie Hills. Charlie's over on LinkedIn, of course. He's got over 170,000 followers. But Charlie talked about this, and we were having this, I suppose, this healthy debate around saying please and thank you in your AI conversation. He goes, don't bother. It takes up more energy, and actually you get no better output than input. So
100%.
Park that to one side, ladies and gents. I've been using AI for a substantial amount of time anyway, but I think because it's amplified much bigger now, the last sort of 18 months in particular, I feel like as it is accelerating, we are going to continue to leverage AI in a good way. But again, I feel like there are still quite a few businesses that are very behind, especially the small businesses. The way that I see this as well, Chris, is that I see this as a great competitive edge. Let me give you some context here. So we've got all these big companies that are laying employees off. They're blaming AI. It's bullshit, really. But really, for the small business owner, I think that provides a really, really useful USP, because While the big companies are being distracted of layoffs, redundancies, and whatever it is, how does that help the small business owner, right? Well, it helps them hugely because it helps them to tap into markets that you weren't able to tap in before. So I don't know. I just feel like we're in a really good position, like from an opportunity perspective, where we can jump onto this train where we can get to the market quicker than the big boys.
Yeah, I think speed to entry, to your point, and speed to implementation. Bigger organizations, there's more bureaucracy, red tape, implementation. You probably have to go through a team of 5 to 10 on the leadership team, depending on your size, to get it approved. Has to go to legal, has to go to HR. All these different functions need to touch it before you can implement. Small business, depending on your team, you can have a quick discussion. Where are the gaps? Identify them. Let's move forward. Simple.
Absolutely. 100%. Love it. Listen, I know that we're coming towards the end of our conversation, and I think it's been very thought-provoking, actually. So I just wanted to, I greatly appreciate our conversation. So thank you so much. Just final thought of just before we wrap up today, but are there any takeaways that we can take from the conversation for some of our listeners?
The key thing around this is to remain human. Humanity is going to be your edge. Think about the things that we've discussed, the emotional intelligence, the experience. Large language models are trained. They don't have the experience, depending on if you've been here for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Leverage that experience because they don't have that. Think about the judgment calls that you make, the relationships you have, the people you can influence, what you bring. There's so many things. Think about those soft skills. Really think about those soft skills and how you can leverage them. They're not soft skills. They're essential skills for you to thrive in the modern day workplace.
Love it. Some very good stuff there. Thank you again, Chris, for being on the show. For you guys that have been listening very attentively, I hope that you've enjoyed mine and Chris's discussion. And again, I think it was very, very timely. So if you have any questions, by the way, feel free to reach out to Chris. We'll put his socials in the show description notes below, of course. If you have any questions with regards to today's show and you want to email me, I put that in the show description notes, of course, as well. And again, I see this in every episode. We have more followers than we have subscribers. So if this is the first time or you are a regular, please do me a favor. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. And if you want to leave a 1 or a 5-star review, whichever you feel is based on today's conversations, we hope that you come back. We hope that you get some value. And from me and Chris, hope you're well and take care. We'll speak to you soon. Cheers now.
Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, sorry. Namaste.
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS.